Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of Doors of the Universe podcast. I feel like it. I don't feel like it. It's been a while. I've been going through some life changes, change of location, change of jobs, change of just a whole lot of changes. So for the past couple months, we've been doing a lot of old, We Don't Talk Politics podcast episodes, which are still great. But I do miss making fresh episodes for you. And that is what we're doing here today. This is a new episode. I have never released this one before. This one is one that I have been sitting on a while. I knew what I was going to do. I knew what it was going to be about. Just could not get myself to do it. I was kind of stuck in a little bit of a rut there with the move and the change of jobs and everything. It's been a lot. It's been a lot these last couple of months. I think we can all agree on that. But what I ended up doing the other day was deciding I need to go to a quiet place. I need to set aside time just to work on this and just get away from all the distractions. And for me, I used to be going to coffee shops. And then I learned about the joy of the public library. The library has always been there for us, and hopefully will always be there for us, as a place that you can go to study, to read, check out books. Please support your local libraries. There are a lot of people that utilize the library on a regular basis. I know when I was in Portland, libraries were one of the places where they had the cooling. You could go in during the summer for a cooling place if you didn't have a cool place to go. Cool as in temperature-wise. Not that libraries aren't cool, because let's be honest, just this giant space full of knowledge and books, how cool is that? And also, the libraries offer a ton of services that I was unaware of until I started looking into it recently. I had a friend who told me how they use the printing there, but they've got a ton of options. I think they do 3D printing. I think they'll rent out 3D printers. There are a ton of random things that they will rent out that I think I was just randomly looking through. They have board games. They have tools. They have wet vacs. They have... Check out your local library and see what they offer. They also, I know with at least, I think every library, you get Canopy, a subscription to Canopy with, a free subscription to Canopy with your library card. I love utilizing the Libby app, which is, you can check out audiobooks, you can check out ebooks, there's magazines you can check out on there, but it's all digital. Everything's in digital format. But it also helps support the local libraries by showing that, yes, there is a need for these things because people are using them. So check out Libby. I am not a paid sponsor for Libby or the public libraries, but they are both two resources I highly recommend utilizing. I just found out the library here, one of the libraries here, has a seed library. You can go donate seeds. You can pick out seeds, plant a garden, do something. The libraries offer so much for so many people. Please go support them. But yeah, it is, like I said, it's been a couple months, and oh boy, has it been a couple months. There's been a lot going on in our big, beautiful world. We've been living in a conspiracy theorist's wet dream. I don't think the redacted Epstein files were out since I did the last episode, with multiple members of our current government mentioned multiple times, including a sitting president, in those files of a known sex trafficker. The court ruling, this is a recent one, court ruling came out that the bullet that was used to shoot Charlie Kirk wasn't from the rifle that Tyler Robinson, who was believed to be the shooter, the court ruling said that it was not, the bullet could not have came from his rifle. Alien UFO disclosure is being talked about more than it ever has been openly in the U.S. We are saying that we have had people working on UFO craft. We've had bodies. Age of Disclosure documentary that came out and seems to just be opening up a lot of stuff. We're at war with Iran right now to open the Strait of Hormuz, which was closed because the start of the war, the U.S. starting the war, is the reason we're there. Just gas prices are high, jobs are low. Y'all, we're living in fun times. This is definitely a very interesting time to be alive. What is it? I see the memes where it's like, when you're in your fifth once in a lifetime, as a millennial, you're in your fifth once in a lifetime economic crisis. We are going through the ups and downs right now. But in the words of the Toasters, one of my favorite ska bands, don't let the bastards grind you down. One of my favorite things I saw recently was a meme that just said, it isn't the end of the world right now, but it may be the end of the world that we grow up knowing. And it's our job to nurture the new world, and making sure it's one that's better for future generations. Times like these start showing up in our... I've seen a couple of this. Yeah, I've seen a couple. I've been live long enough to see a couple times where the U.S. was a little shaky. When times like this start popping up and the news just seems like everything is gloom and doom, makes me think of the Mr. Rogers meme that has been popping up lately on the news. Not the news. Has been popping up lately on social media, where he was talking about when he was younger and he would see something on TV that was disturbing or scary. His mom would tell him to look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping. Maybe I'm delusional, but I do believe that there are still good people in this who want the world to be better for everyone, not just themselves. We've got not a lot, just a little bit, just a couple going around of just wanting things better for themselves. I think a lot of people want things better for everyone. And these are the people I want to surround myself with and support because they are the helpers. And in the sentiment of Mr. Rogers, if you're one of those people, you're a helper too. And I'm proud of you. So, don't let the bastards grind you down. We got this. We've come through worse. It's a lot. We could recognize it's a lot, and we need to check in with ourselves and the people we care about, making sure they're doing okay. Because it is a lot right now. With that said, today's episode was supposed to be on the West Texas Owlman. I didn't know much about it either. So I'd heard the name had come up in this seems to be a common thing. I don't know if I'm just forgetting things or if I'm just hearing too many things, so I'm not storing everything, but I heard about the West Texas Owlman podcast I was listening to, added it to the Wheel of Destiny. The wheel got spun, it came up. So I didn't know much about Owlman, or the West Texas Owlman. or Owlman from DC Comics either. But these are all things that apparently exist, or at least we've been told they do. We got witnesses. But if you came here for the DC Comics Owlman, you came to the wrong place. Kind of. Because that's not what the topic is, Buggo. I'll tell you a little bit about him later when we get to pop culture. Either way, our story starts in West Texas in 1981. There is a group of teenagers speeding down a dark highway. They are running for their lives. Something's chasing them. Not a person, but not an animal. Something with wings and glowing red eyes. Whatever it is, it's gaining on them. And this is the story of the West Texas Owlman. So I got this directly from TexasHillCountry.com because I had a hard time finding any information about the West Texas Owlman. So we're also, after this, going to hop across the pond and go to England and check in on the Cornish Owlman. So I'm just going to read you a story because, like I said, it seemed like any time I searched for West Texas Owlman, this is all that came up. Just the story, repeated. Like, I would go to different websites, but it would be the same thing. So, I don't know. This is the story you need to hear, apparently, regarding the West Texas Owlman. The giant owl creature chased the pickup, clawing at the tailgate and scratching the metal. The hunters in the pickup bed screamed like little girls as the vehicle went full speed down the 2-lane blacktop. The white creature flapped its enormous wings, pale against the West Texas night. Evil red eyes shone in the darkness. It kept pace with the pickup, talons screeching against the tailgate. One of the hunters gathered enough courage to raise his rifle and pull the trigger. So when a group of Texas high school students went out hunting rabbits one night, they couldn't have guessed they'd become the prey of a terrifying Mothman-like entity. I personally interviewed Jamie, one of the eyewitnesses. Again, I didn't personally interview him. The person who wrote this article personally interviewed one of the eyewitnesses, who's been a friend of my father's for 30 years. Jamie is an honest man, and everything he told me about his strange encounter had the ring of sincerity. In 1981, Jamie was a high school freshman in West Texas. One night, he went out with 5 buddies to hunt jackrabbits. The friends piled into a pickup and drove out southwest of the small town of Sundown, Texas. They were driving around the oil lease, then called the Central Mallet Unit, when all of a sudden the pickup died. Around 20 minutes later, the vehicle started up again by itself. Despite how strange that was, they were having too good a time to pay it any mind. Being young and dumb, Jamie said, "We didn't think anything about it." They drove a little farther, then stopped and climbed out of the pickup, ready for the hunt. Carrying their rifles and lights, they walked out into the dark. After a while, they walked over a hill and looked down on a fence line 60 yards away. And that's when they saw it. Something big and white was sitting on the fence. They stared at it in the distance, trying to decide what it was. The creature looked like an owl, only 5 times as large. "What the heck is that?" Jamie said. The young hunters shone their lights on the white creature. "It just turned its head and looked at us," Jamie said. The giant owl's red eyes shone bright above its beak. It stared at the hunters, then spread its enormous wings 12 feet across as they saw its red chest as the creature took flight. "All of a sudden, this thing takes off," Jamie said. "It kind of just started going towards us. Well, now we're scared." They ran back to the pickup, hearts pounding. Then one guy slid behind the wheel. Jamie got in the passenger seat, and the 3 others jumped in the pickup bed. The driver sped off, but they could see the giant owl creature coming after them. This thing was following us, Jamie said. The three guys in the back were screaming like girls. The driver punched the accelerator, but the creature kept coming, gaining on them. Its huge wings were pale in the night, and its red eyes shone through the darkness. One of the hunters in the pickup bed raised his rifle and took aim and pulled the trigger. Nothing happened. The rifle wouldn't fire. I asked Jamie if he thought his friend had just been too terrified to flick off the safety or chamber around, but he didn't think so. He had the impression of something, an unexplained force preventing the weapon from firing. The three hunters in the back of the pickup screamed. Now the creature was right on their tail. It was hovering over the vehicle, Jamie said. I mean actually right behind us, just clawing at the tailgate and scratching up the truck. By that time, we had got on the highway, and it was still following us. I bet we were going as fast as that truck would go. And we're all pale, and we're scared to death. The giant owl thing chased them into sundown. We finally swung into town. We flew into town, Jamie said, and a sundown cop was parked at the end of the town, on the south side. We passed him, and then he came right behind us. Never even turned on his lights. We turned off to go toward my dad's house, and the cop just kept going straight. He didn't stop us. I might have thought I was dreaming, but when I saw the cop didn't even stop us, he just kept going, I knew he had seen something also. In sundown, the giant owl gave up the chase. They reached home alive, but terrified. I was so sick, Jamie said. I couldn't go to school for 2 days. A lot of people didn't believe us. But other people had kind of seen something like that before out there, but nobody had really got that close or experienced it such as we did. We were scared to death. I don't know what it was. It's always been imprinted in my memory. In the late 1960s, an entity similar to what Jamie saw that night in sundown was witnessed in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Descriptions witnesses gave of what would be called the Mothman correspond in some details to what Jamie saw. A pale creature with red eyes and roughly 12-foot wingspan. Author John Kill noted reports of UFO activity over Point Pleasant, as well as cars stalling without explanation in areas where the Mothman had been seen. So that is the story of the West Texas Owlman. So now we take a trip over to England. So, in Cornish folklore, the Owlman, in Cornish, Owlman, sometimes referring to the Cornish Owlman, is an owl-like humanoid creature said to have been seen in 1976 in the village of Mawnan, Cornwall, UK. Reported sightings of its flying above the church tower have led some to believe the creature may have been a barn owl or a species that commonly nests in such places. As far as how it looks, eyewitnesses consistently depict the Owlman as a bipedal, owl-like figure, roughly the size of an adult human, standing about 5 to 6 feet tall when grounded. Its body is covered in feathers, ranging from dark black to a shimmering silvery gray, with broad shoulders and a hunched posture that accentuates its avian form. The most striking feature is its head, a large, rounded owl visage, with prominent, forward-facing eyes that emit a piercing red glow, suggesting either bioluminescence or reflective properties under low light. Wings constitute another trait spanning 8 to 10 feet when extended, composed of dark membranous or feathered surfaces capable of silent propulsion. The legs are notably bird-like, bending backward at the knees in zygodactyl arrangement, terminating in sharp, pincher-shaped claws suitable for grasping. Go get you. Go grab you. Some accounts mention clawed hands of taloned feet, reinforcing the hybrid humanoid avian design. The overall silhouette conveys a menacing yet ethereal quality, with pointed ear tufts and a beakless mouth that occasionally parts to reveal a hissing or screeching call. Variations in color and detail across reports may stem from lighting conditions or observer distance. Still, the core form remains uniform as a feathered predator adapted for nocturnal flight. All right, so the history of the Cornish Owlman goes back a little further than the West Texas Owlman. In 1926, the Cornish Echo newspaper reported that 2 boys had been chased by what was described as a very large and ferocious bird. The paper said that the boys were attracted to something fluttering on top of a mine burrow. There, they came upon a large bird, apparently dead. The description they gave was large and not alive. Helpful, but not very descriptive. Upon taking a closer look, they came to find out the bird was apparently not dead. At that point is when they said the bird attacked. They said they wrestled it back down with a coat, then proceeded to hit it with a stick until it was actually dead. The creature was in very poor condition. Owing to rapid decay, it was soon buried. Many villagers took witness of the bird, but none could identify what it was. If this had been the only report, it'd be easier to write off, especially since avian humanoid hybrids are common in folklore all across the world. They can be found commonly in Egyptian, Hindu, Greek, and Japanese cultures, among many others. The first sighting in the 1920s attracted the attention of surrealist painters Max Ernst and Leonora Carrington. The couple visited Mawnan in 1937. There they are said to have performed rituals to try and summon up the half-man, half-bird they called a Therianthropus. The Owlman was featured heavily in both their artwork for the remainder of their lives. The next reported sighting came across some 50 years later around Easter in April of 1976. I don't know how many of you believe in fate, but the fact that I'm recording this the week before Easter. Coinky dink? Maybe. The 2 witnesses described an abnormally large bird resembling a giant owl flying over the tower of the 13th century parish church in Mawnan Smith. The 2 young girls who had been camping in the woods nearby were attracted by strange hissing sounds. They described the huge bird as having red eyes and strange claws shaped like 2 blacksmith's pincers. So we have Sally Chapman and Barbara Perry in the Mawnan Woods on July 3rd, 1976. So in the summer of 1976, 2 friends, 14-year-old Sally Chapman and 13-year-old Barbara Perry, had an incredible encounter while camping in the woods near a church. As night began to fall, they heard strange noises coming from the trees. And this is the story. Turning around, they saw a mysterious creature sitting on a low branch. It looked something like an owl, with gray feathers that blended into the fog surrounding it. The creature was about the same height as a person, and had tufted ears, a flat face, and legs that bent oddly, ending in black claws that clicked against the tree bark. Its bright red eyes glowed in the dark, revealing the delicate details of its feathers as it tilted its head to look at them. When their eyes met, the creature let out a chilling scream that sounded like a mix of an owl hoot and a human wail. Then, with powerful wings, it took off into the sky. After their sighting, Sally and Barbara reported what they saw to the authorities and the media, sharing their drawings of the creature. Their descriptions matched earlier sightings, which helped attract more attention to the strange phenomena. So one of the podcasts I was listening to said the father had taken the daughters to a county, it's either like a fair or a circus, I can't remember. Either way. And Tony Doc Shields was there. He's the one that kind of set it off and gave it even more notoriety. The story gained more fame when Tony Doc Shields, who had been involved in a series of monster-raising exploits in 1976, claimed to have investigated a report of two young girls on holiday in Mawnan who saw a large winged creature hovering above the tower of St. Mawnan and St. Stephen's Church in Mawnan on the 17th of April, 1976. According to most versions of the story, the girls, identified as June and Vicky Melling, were so frightened by the sight of the large feathered bird man, in quotations, that their father Don immediately cut short their family holiday after hearing their tale. According to Shields, one of the girls provided him with a drawing of the creature, which he dubbed Owlman. A little background on Tony Doc Shields. Born Anthony Nickel Shields in Salford so let me stop here. The American English language sometimes eludes me, so I apologize if the English language or names of cities and things in England elude me even more. I am trying. I have looked up some of these words, some of the cities' names and stuff, trying to make sure I'm pronounced right. If I'm not pronouncing it right, I apologize. But yeah, Anthony Nicol Shields was born in Salford, England on May 25th, 1938. In the late 1960s, after moving to live in Ponsanooth near Falmouth, he rediscovered stage magic, something he had been taught as a boy by his father and grandfather. And he wrote articles for The Linking Ring and The Budget magazines. This includes interviews with Ray Harryhausen and Ray Bradbury. He also published a trio of magic books, 13 Something Strange and Damon's Darklings and Doppelgangers, which were sold in both the UK and the US and led to him being associated with 1970s bizarre magic. What is bizarre magic? Bizarre magic is a branch of stage magic that creates the airy effects through its use of narratives and esoteric imagery. The experience may be more akin to small, intimate theater or to a conventional magic show. Bizarre magic often uses horror, supernatural, and science fiction imagery, in addition to the standard commercial magic approaches of comedy and wonder. There was another sighting 2 years later after the initial major sighting in 1976. At first, the witnesses thought that someone was playing a trick on them. They thought that it was a person dressed up in a costume. Again, they described an abnormally large bird, silver gray in color. They only realized that it wasn't a trick when they saw the creature fly up into the air and disappear. After it flew away, they said that there was a strange static noise coming from the trees for some time afterwards. Spooky. There was a further sighting in 1989, and then again 6 years later. The witness this time was an American tourist. She described the owlman as being at least 5 feet tall, with huge claws emanating from its vast wings. She sent a letter about her experience to the then night editor of the Western Morning News, Simon Parker, at the end of the summer in 1995. It read, "Dear Sir, I am a student of marine biology at the Field Museum, Chicago, on the last day of a summer vacation in England. Last Sunday evening, I had a most unique and frightening experience in the wooded area near the old church at Mawnan, Cornwall. I experienced what I can only describe as a vision from hell." That's pretty intense. The time was 15 minutes after 9, more or less, and I was walking along a narrow track through the trees. I was halted in my tracks. About 30 meters ahead, I saw a monstrous birdman thing. It was the size of a man with a ghastly face, a wide mouth, glowing eyes, and pointed ears. It had a huge clawed wings and was covered in feathers of silver gray color. The thing had long bird legs which terminated in large black claws. It saw me and rose, floating towards me. I just screamed and then turned and ran for my life. The whole experience was totally irrational and dreamlike. Friends tell me that there is a tradition of a phantom owlman in that district. Now I know why. I have seen the phantom myself. Please don't publish my real name and address. That could adversely affect my career. Now I have to rethink my worldview entirely. Yours very sincerely, Scared Eyewitness. In 1989, we find a young couple in the woods outside Mawnan. A young couple in their 20s sparked interest in the owlman during a late-night stroll near Mawnan. After leaving the pub, they took a wooded path when suddenly they felt a rush of air and saw the creature descend from the trees above. It was tall, with a shiny black body and large wings that were partly folded. Its clawed feet touched the ground as it moved closer, and its bright red eyes glowed in the moonlight. When the couple shouted in fear, the owlman quickly took off into the sky. Unlike previous sightings, this one felt like a chase, making the experience even more frightening for them. They reported what they saw to local newspapers, and their consistent stories, along with the fact that they weren't famous, caught people's attention. Although no one was hurt, the incident brought back memories of similar sightings from 1976, indicating that the owlman might still be around. The owl was then quiet for several years, but there were other strange occurrences. In 1996, a woman reported a ball of light floating above the church. Then in 2003, two teenage girls were listening to music in the church car park late at night. They too saw a glowing, pulsating globe of light hovering over the church. The girls said that they watched it for a while until it just vanished. The most recent sighting was in September of 2009, to my knowledge. It was reported that a 12-year-old girl named Jessica Wilkins, or Wilkinson, odd that we don't have a for sure last name, saw the Owlman of Mawnan for the first time this century. And that's kind of the interesting thing about the sightings. A lot of times with cryptids, you'll have just a certain time period where you're seeing these cryptids. I mean, there's definitely cryptids that have been consistently seen for decades on decades. But there are a lot of cryptids. I feel like a majority of the cryptids are seen only during a certain small chunk of time and then kind of disappear off the map. But it lends a little more credibility to it with the continued sightings. I want to say credibility, but likelihood of something being there, whether that be an owlman or something else. Something is going on at the church in Mawnan, and in the woods. So I did say we would talk about the DC Comics Owlman. So here you go. Owlman Thomas Wayne Jr. is a fictional character appearing in comic books published by DC Comics, a supervillainous alternate universe counterpart of Bruce Wayne / Batman, a Batman. He is depicted as the adult version of Wayne's deceased older brother, who in other universes dies as a child before Bruce is born. In the New 52, the primary continuity Owlman, originally depicted as the asylum-bound boomerang killer, is retroactively revealed to be still alive, stolen from his parents as a child, and working in the service of the Court of Owls under the name Lincoln March. This isn't really related to the Cornish or West Texas Owlman, but knowledge is power, so you're welcome. This may come up on Jeopardy sometime when you're on there. As far as more pop culture, 2009, the episode Death Raptor focused on the Owlman in the Animal Planet TV series Lost Tapes. Which, if you haven't seen Lost Tapes, it was fun to watch. It was just it covered a lot of cryptids, a lot of different cryptids, and definitely worth checking out. But Death Raptor, the 2009 episode, was based on the Owlman. The Owlman Feeds at Midnight is an episode in season 1 of the children's TV show The Secret Saturdays. The plot of the episode involves a town terrorized by an owlman, which I'm not sure I know what the Secret Saturdays are, and it did say there was citation needed for that, so take it with a grain of salt. 2012 play Horse Piss for Blood, written by Carl Gross, features the Owlman as a key plot point. And the Owlman is depicted in 2013 Scottish independent horror film Lord of Tears. In this film, the Owlman represents the Semitic god Moloch. So I didn't watch it because I don't dislike all horror movies, but I have a hard time with some horror movies. So normally it's going to take a lot for me to want to watch a horror movie. So I did look at it a little bit and see a little bit about it, but I have not seen it. So if you're looking for a horror movie with the Owlman, then Lord of Tears it is. And it's Scottish and independent. So usually independent horror takes it next level. All right. As far as explanations, what could this be? According to author Joe Nickel, church towers are common nesting places for barn owls, which were likely the source of the sightings. Author and Fortean TV presenter Reverend Lionel Fanthorpe identifies the sightings of a Eurasian eagle owl as a likely source of the legend. Historical records from the 1970s show that some of these owls escaped from private collections, which could explain why people have seen them near human-populated areas, especially when they are confused and searching for places to rest, such as church towers or wooded areas. Occult historian Gareth Medway suggested that the whole thing may have been a hoax by shills, who had a reputation for hoaxing. Medway noted that witnesses claiming encounters with a similar legendary monster promoted by shills were either Doc Shills or friends of Doc Shills or relatives of Doc Shills, or reported their sightings to Doc Shills and to no one else, or wrote letters describing what they had seen to newspapers and were never interviewed by anyone. Another theory suggests that the mysterious Owlman may be linked to the unintentional actions of some 20th century occultists, particularly two artists, Mary E. Comfort Ernst and Wallace A. Carrington. Okay, so these are from two different sources because I have two different names here. I have Max Ernst and I have Leonora Carrington. So those were listed in one of the articles, and this is what was listed in another article as two artist names. But either way, they just used their last names in the last one, so in the part that talks about what's going on. So I'll leave that for you to research a little more. In the 1930s, the two artists lived near Mawnan and had a strong interest in bird symbolism. Ernst created paintings featuring owls, while Carrington produced sketches that seemed to involve rituals. They often conducted private ceremonies that mixed local pagan traditions with beliefs from a spiritual movement known as Telefonema. Telefonema is a Western esoteric and occult social and spiritual philosophy and a new religious movement founded in the early 1900s by Aleister Crowley, an English writer, mystic, occultist, and ceremonial magician. Central to Telefonema is the concept of discovering and following one's true will, a divine and individual purpose that transcends ordinary desires. Crowley's system begins with the Book of the Law, a text he maintained was dictated to him by a non-corporeal entity named Aiwass, Aiwass. This work outlines key principles including the axioms, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, and love is the law, love under will, emphasizing personal freedom and the pursuit of one's true path. So yeah, that's early 1900s. They were there in the 1920s, so at the time that was a fresh religion they were trying out. Supporters of this theory believe that their activities in the nearby woods near an ancient church may have stirred up energies that led to the appearance of the Owlman. This notion is similar to the idea of creating a thought form where intense focus and belief can bring something into existence. We talked about this during the Slender Man episode, which I think I released. It might have been the last one I brought out. but it's called a tulpa. It's where you think about something so intently that it actually manifests into a form, becomes part of reality. Interestingly, the first public sightings of the Owlman were reported about 40 years after Ernst and Carrington's most active period, aligning with traditional beliefs about karma and mysterious events occurring around solstices. Also, Shields, who we talked about earlier, styled himself as a warlock and promoted these sightings, may have amplified the phenomenon unintentionally by echoing the energies left behind by Ernst and Carrington. Create a tulpa by trying to make a buck. Culturally, the Owlman adds to Cornwall's rich history of mysteries, inspiring art, tours, and a sense of wonder, while reminding us not to jump to conclusions as we wander through dark woods. Some other cryptids that came up that might have some similarities. We talked about earlier the Mothman, who's originally West Virginia, USA. 7-foot winged humanoid, red eyes, moth wings, nocturnal flights, bringer of omens. Its first sighting was in 1966. Status is ongoing legend. Bat Squatch, which we did an episode on, from Washington State, the U.S. It's an 8-foot Batman, leathery wings, white fur, does aerial dives, is very territorial. First sighting was in 1994, so that one a little bit later. And the reports are rare. Then you've got the Thunderbird from the Pacific Northwest. Massive raptor, 20 feet wingspan, eagle-like, storm summoning flights. And that is folklore-based from 1890. One of my favorites would be the Van Meter Visitor from Iowa, where I am residing currently, which we did do an episode of that about the Van Meter Visitor on We Don't Talk Politics, which I probably will upload that as the next one, because it is a fun cryptid to talk about that was fun learning about and hearing the history of it. And that one had multiple witnesses of it. It is a horned winged creature with glowing eyes, nocturnal, seems to hover, and has beams of light. That one was seen in 1903, and that was a very isolated wave of people seeing it. Okay. So yeah, those are some of the cryptids that have similar characteristics. Perhaps cousins of said Owlman. So that concludes all I have on the Cornwall Owlman and the West Texas Owlman. Two wonderful cryptids that are now in your brain as well. So what do you think? What do you think it is? You think it's a tulpa? It's been brought into life by multiple minds thinking together, having the same thought, and bringing it into existence? Do you think it's a barn owl with red eyes? Which, I mean, I have seen pictures. I live in the Midwest. Pictures and seen barn owls, and they do have the red eyes. Large owls with red glowing eyes. Or is it a hybrid? Or is it something that comes from an entire another world and is a dimension jumper like our good friend Bigfoot? I don't know. There's a decent amount of sightings here, and which is always makes me believe a little more, when I hear, seems more credible to me when there's multiple witnesses that are coming forward and saying things. And it's not just in one little span of time. Not saying that I don't believe when there is isolated waves. I just want to believe. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, seems like a cool new cryptid that I got to learn more about. You got to learn more about. We all got to learn something today. So hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, tell a friend. Share the episode with a friend. Share it with a family member. Share it. Just share it if you liked it and you know somebody else that would like it. I'd love to keep growing. I'm hoping to get back into more consistent new episodes now as well. And like I said, I probably, because somebody actually in one of the podcasts I was listening to brought up the Van Meter Visitor, which has similar aspects and stuff. But yeah, let me know what you think. I'll try and share it on all the social medias, which I think all of the podcast social medias are usually at DOTU Podcast. Check them out, like, follow, interact, leave a comment. I'd love to chat more about what you think about whatever the subject matter was that was the most recent episode, or even old episodes. I like to chat. We'll go ahead and wrap it up with that. As always, keep an eye to the sky. If you're in Mawnan, Cornwall, keep an eye out for some red eyes staring at you from the trees. And some town-like feet looking to grab you. We'll see you next time.